Hi, my name's Henry, and I'm part of the A-level programme at the Royal Academy. And I'm here today in the heart of London to talk to Mark Wallinger about the Venice Biennale in his studio. Mark, to start off with, how did you feel to be representing Britain in the Biennale in 2001?
Yeah, well, it came as a complete surprise to me. I found out on the night of the opening of Tate Modern, so yeah, it's quite a big evening all in all. Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit about the work you created for the pavilion?
Everything within the pavilion and without it, I suppose, in some ways played with reality and illusion and faith systems and kind of, yeah, how we hold tight to certain identities. And so I wanted to do something that kind of announced that in some kind of way. And so I came up with the notion of making a trompe-l'oeil of the pavilion in front of the pavilion. So John Riddy, a good friend of mine, a photographer, and I went out there to photograph the pavilion because you see it down quite a long avenue as you go into the Giardini. So that then became a huge photograph that sat in front of the pavilion 2 or 3 metres in front of it. So from a distance, it did fool the eye. You didn't see anything amiss, and then as you gradually approached it, you realised it was a photograph of the very thing behind it. So you enter the pavilion first through an illusion of the pavilion, and yeah, and so Ecce Homo was there. There was an oxymoron flag piece which I have here in the studio, which was a work from '96 in which I took the Union Jack and made its complementary colours, which happened to be the green and orange of the Irish tricolour. And then there were a couple of video works and the mirrored TARDIS piece and Ghost, which was a version of Stubbs's Whistle Jacket, and then kind of 12 disciples' drawings of Jesus through the wall at the back of the pavilion.
In what ways did the notion of the Biennale and of representing Britain influence your work?
Because I made a lot of work which kind of explored the nature of identity and nationalism, there wasn't any way that I was going to use the British Pavilion as just a sort of neutral white box. So in a way I felt I had to kind of address its history and that peculiar history of the Biennale, really.
What role do you think the pavilions played in the discussion about national identity?
So they feel like leftovers from a sort of late 19th century notion of national identity, somewhere between that and sort of almost like a crazy golf course, each with its kind of little themed hole, you know. And I suppose, you know, late 19th century we still had an empire. We you know, occupy the only hill in Venice, really, and with France on one side and Germany on the other and Russia down the avenue. I don't know, it's kind of quite, so it's still redolent of pre-Great War kind of, yeah, empires.
What have been some of your career highlights since then?
Yeah, I suppose State Britain was the next biggest thing. Oh no, well then there was Sleeper, which I did in Berlin, which was, for 10 nights I was costumed as a brown bear in the Neue National Gallery in Berlin. So I'd sort of appear in this illuminated huge glass Mies van der Rohe building every night around 10 and just kind of wander about for as long as possible in this sweltering hot bear suit. So then State Britain would be the next one, I guess, which was about Brian, poor Brian, who passed away a couple of weeks ago. His protest in Parliament Square, which I then remade for Tate Britain. And again, that was just kind of an opportunity arose because the Duveen galleries were suddenly going to be empty in their programme looking ahead. So they called up a few artists to see whether they had anything that they could make that would fill in quickly for that. So yeah, so that was the circumstances by which I had the opportunity to do that, yeah.
What do you think makes Biennale such a unique exhibition?
I mean, it's the oldest fine art kind of festival of its kind, you know, so I think I was the 49th, you know, Biennale representative in Britain. And I suppose there's two things that run in parallel. There are the national pavilions, and then there's the curated show. And the national pavilions are, or were until recently, all contained within the Giardini, and there is a Golden Lion Prize for the West Pavilion as well. So there is, yeah, there's a sort of whiff of the competitive as well as the, you know, collegial kind of feel about the event, and I suppose people do take on, I mean, they either completely ignore the nationalistic elements, which is one way of doing it, or else they do pay heed to the history of, you know, whatever that is at that particular time. So, I mean, this year the Egyptian representative was killed in the protests in Cairo. You know, so you know, that's as close as politics and art rub up against, yeah, something really serious. You know, and in past times, I mean, Hans Hacker famously dug up the floor of the German pavilion, and so there's, you know, so there's always that tension there that some, yeah, and so people, and also because it's been going so long and it's so hard to be original or stand out in any way, it does raise the bar high, I suppose, for all the artists there, to be, you know, original without being just, you know, controversial or whatever for its own sake. So it's, yeah, it's a difficult ask, and it was quite nice too. I mean, I was 2001, and then the film version of Sleeper, the Bear piece, was then in the curated part of Venice 4 years later. So it was quite nice to go back as a curated artist and not have that pressure of standing for your country or whatever, you know. And I do remember, because I flew the oxymoron flag outside my press conference there, the first question I was asked was, did I support the IRA? And nothing had really prepared me for that. A friend of mine suggested I should have said, no, I support West Ham United, but a day later, that's, yeah, not such a snappy answer. Yeah.
So Mark, thank you for your time.
Okay.
It's a pleasure talking with you.
Thank you.